Hi again, I'm Helen Van Wyck and welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to show you how to paint metals, any metal, copper, brass, silver. But before I actually start to paint so you can watch me do it, I'd like to acquaint you with something very important in my studio, and that is my north light. This is what makes it all possible. The light comes in the window and shines down on my subject. One source of light, causing lots of contrast. And in fact, it makes it possible for me to see it at all. And so I'm going to make my paint do to the canvas what the light does to the subject. Ho, 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 they say that painting is easy if you approach it that way. And so I thought that it would be more practical for me to have sketched it in and put in a background ahead of time so I could give you all the time I could to show you how I do metals. I don't know whether you were visiting me a few weeks ago when I painted glass and told you how important the highlight was, and I finalized the appearance of the glass by putting the highlight on last. The metals are different. I actually make metals with a highlight. Because the highlight is so extraordinary on metals, why not start with them? And the color of the highlight is so extraordinary. If you put it on first, it doesn't get contaminated by any manipulation into it. So I'm going to take a big gob of white, and into that, bright, bright cadmium red light, bright, bright cadmium orange, and I'm going to load the brush and put a brilliant spot here, I hope. Now, I'm going to make that spot much bigger than I see it, so that I can, well, I call it hack it down. To try to put just a little spot on, maybe it's not going to look bright enough. And now the inside of this old pot is dull from age. But the light is coming from above, and so I see this bright orange streaming right along the top edge, but not in here. Highlights can also be duller looking things. I think I'll put that in now here. And as I approach painting the metal by constructing it from the highlight down, I also work from the top down so I can watch the expensive end of my brush. That's the end I paid for. The rest I got for nothing. And so painting this way, I watch what the top does. What's going on down under here? I don't worry about that because I have this nice thick, bright highlight color to chop it off. Now, if I were painting silver, I'd be using almost white. The highlight hits right here at the place where this is right in line with the light. So I can cut some of that down where the light can't make such a dramatic hit. Again, another big, quickly mixed glob of paint. The quicker you mix it, the more vital it is. If you take your paint and then do this and mix, and oh, you really mix, you can almost see how this looks duller than this? This may be very therapeutic, but it's really wrecking your color. So a quick mix and put a lot on. Bigger than you see it. It is characteristic of all metals, highlights, to get more colorful as they fall away from the source of light. And so more color into the highlight right there. A little there, but not as much on this side as on this side. Actually, I have almost painted metal. I've almost painted copper. All I have to do now, I've painted the characteristic of copper, all I have to do now is not use that highlight color anywhere else. A darker orange, burnt sienna. So what goes on first in painting last in painting glass, gets so mixed up, goes on first in painting metals. I bought this copper pot in Italy way, way back, one of my trips. It's a wonderful old thing. I only paint it, I don't use it in my kitchen, it leaks. But it's nice old shape. Now I put these cut up pieces of lemons in front of the copper pot to expose another characteristic of metal. And then that it is so shiny that the things around it reflect into it. So this also makes a wonderful intrigue. And also that white old runner or old cloth, dishcloth, is also reflecting into it. There are a few shadows, even darker than I have, and they are under here and over here, because the light coming from this way, naturally this would get a little darker. And on this side I see also something dark. Something must be causing that. Some lighting effect. And now let me take the off-white, white with off in it, and put a little yellow ochre into it, make it a little warmer looking, and put in a mass tone wherever this white cloth is, so that I can start to affect the metal with its white cloth surroundings. The old masters had many apprentices. They got the idea for the painting, probably sketched it in, sketched in the composition, and when it got to this stage, they really had their apprentices fill all this in. And then they came back and put on all the magnificent finishing touches. There is a lot of just plain filling in. So do so, take time to do it. If you can't be arty at it, just at least be neat. I seem to be scratching my palette, my easel here, making a terrible racket. And some shadows. To show some folds. Yes, you're wondering what color. Whenever I put a shadow on yellow, I always use violet. And in one of my lessons, we'll talk just about that and not really talk about anything else. But how can I talk about just one thing about painting when every time you paint something, even if it's just one apple, you have to use your entire painting prowess? You never paint just a little. It's almost like firing a gun. You can't squeeze the trigger a little bit, hoping that the bullet's just going to plop out. It's got to just the whole process acts together. And just so I can help you locate and help me locate where these lemons are going to be, let's put just a vague little thing here. Little vague thing here. Before I show you another example of how wonderful it is to work from the top down. Let me take a look at this from a distance first, though. Let me show you how this slice of lemon affects the pot. But before I show you how it affects the pot, I have to paint it. And so I'm going to start and, as I said before, show you how valuable it is to work from the top down. Now watch. I'm going to look at that back light tone, which is the meat, and paint that in. Not worrying too much about how thick it is, because I can cut it down with this part. Clean my brush, take that light tone again and cut that down with the next tone, and cut that down with this tone. Painting with a brush, it's not like drawing with a pencil. You're always finding some practical procedure to fill in the area as neatly as possible. And neatly means completely covered. And done as though it was done with ease. And that's where the light is affecting the lemon, and here is where the lemon is in shadow. And our wonderful nature gives us such great opportunities, nature's light, if we're willing to recognize it. Nature always gives us cast shadows that set things down. Let's set the pot down while we're at it. Now, what does that do to the copper pot? Well, first it makes a shadow on it. And it reflects in it. The white cloth also reflects in the copper pot here and reflects up into it here from some of these folds. And that brings me over to this side. First this, because it's furthest back. And now again, oh, this one really has, see how very, very thin a light line we see at the top. How could a brush make it that thin? Cutting it, pushing it down to that thin. Ooh, I'm making that kind of green. Oh well. Push it in, maybe it'll look better. It all, don't worry. Be happy. It'll all work out in the end. I always try to paint my subject matters in the view that is advantageous, meaning painting something that has two planes, meaning the side plane of the lemon and the front plane of the lemon. Helps give this magical two-dimensional quality to the three-dimensional quality to the two-dimensional surface. Always have to recognize your limitation. It's real and takes up space. This is flat. You're trying to put that illusion on it. Now, it would be practical to wipe some of that away. With that rag you always have in your hand to help your brush do what it wants to do. I know a lot of people around the country who paint. They've either studied with me, or know of me, have my books. I have a lady in Pennsylvania. She's the wonderful rag lady. She sends me a box of these rags all the time. Now you may wonder how I'm going to make that look like the light passes through. I'm going to wonder if I can do it. Well, the meat in this, or that thin membrane here, is darker. And because it's darker, that seems lighter. And once I sit its little bottom down with its cast shadow, maybe you can see that illusion. Now, before I shine the copper pot with reflections from its surroundings areas, I should paint in what's causing them. And that's these real light values here on the white cloth. I'm sure you've noticed by now that I'm left-handed. I'm in good company. Rembrandt was left-handed. Michelangelo was left-handed. Leonardo was left-handed. I really was right-handed, and I switched to be in better company. Oh. I guess it's my Holland blood that makes me want to decorate everything with a touch of blue. But let's not take up that time. Now let me show you how this copper pot's going to shine more by taking white and black now. Yes, the blue is in it, but that doesn't bother me. Remember I said never use that color again? It's only on the highlight. Even if these reflections absolutely thrill you, don't put them in so light that they overtake this shine. Yes, it looks like I'm doing lots of real light things to this. Just for fun, let me show you how dark it is. See, I ruined my pot for you. But it's easily fixed. So you make your metals out of highlights, and then not let any other tone value that you see reflecting in the metal as light as that highlight. It's going to stop the pot from having its dimension. It's going to look flat. Nothing worse than a flat copper pot. Let me see what this all looks like from a distance a minute. I've stepped back and I see a few things I'd like to fix. How about it? Wouldn't you like to see this a little softer? fix what you think is possible. There's certain things that can't be fixed. A little bit here and a little bit there. A lot of people say, well, how do you finish it? Picture doesn't get, you don't finish it, it's done for. The quality of your painting does not depend on what you do at the end. It depends on everything, right from the very beginning, from the composition to the drawing to the mass tones. So you don't just say, oh, this doesn't matter and this doesn't matter, I'll fix it later. I can do something to this because it looks unfinished. And I think what I'm going to do to it is put a light on it here. Not over the whole thing. I'm going to put a light on here so it looks as though it's half in shadow. Things that are half in shadow are mysterious, intriguing. So that I can teach you the principles by which I paint, as well as show you how I go about it, there is a pressure of time. These pictures have a look of being done fast. Just think, if I use the same process with more care. I'm going to put this, there's a lovely little cast shadow from that handle on the background, and I'm going to put the handle on with first Macedon. It's not copper, it's brass. And so it's going to get a yellowish highlight. Another time, when we get together in my studio, I'm going to show you how to paint silver. But when I do that, I'm going to put flowers in it, in the silver. So it's a good thing to do each stage as well as you can and don't go backwards. I was brought up on 3 things. There's no such word as can't. I say, I can't. And my father would say, in relation to whom? And I'd say, I don't know what to do. My mother would say, do something. I said, I don't know what to do. She says, just do something. And they both said, if you pick it, it won't heal. So next time, I'm going to show you how important a background is and how it affects the subject matter. So until then, I'll say goodbye, and if you tune in, you'll see me do a background, or I may teach you how to make soup.